Okay, this is a walkthrough of CodeCademy's Intro to JavaScript course. I did this course, I have done this course twice, and I've instructed many people to take it because it was super useful. But over the years, it has changed a lot, so I'm going to just go through it. Um, I'm going to try, I think I'm going to try to do like one module in each video. So what is JavaScript? Um, I'm not going to read all of this. It's a walkthrough, and I'll try to explain anything that I think stands out as maybe being tricky. JavaScript is a super useful programming language. It can do almost everything, literally almost everything. It is not the best at everything, but I wholeheartedly believe that it is the most flexible and diverse programming language available. Okay, console. So this is the console panel that displays important messages like errors. Okay, note, errors are not bad. Um, please understand errors are your friend. Better to have an error than for your code to not work and not have an error. Um, in JavaScript, the console keyword refers to an object, a collection of data and actions that we can use in our code. Keywords are words that are built into JavaScript. So console log 5. Yeah, so console log, whatever I console log, like 5, and run it. I get 5 over here. Actually, um, side note, I was actually just, so, like, here's a text editor for on this, 5. So this is a JavaScript file. Um, anyway, maybe I shouldn't do a lot of that, but, okay, so instructions, what does it want me to do? So anytime so log just writes it to the console. On the next line, log a number representing the number of weeks you've been programming. Console.log, I don't know, 52, I don't know, longer, maybe probably longer than that. Let's see, run. Okay, and next. So console log, it just shows it's a way, uh, all that console log does, the only thing it does is it prints to the console. In the beginning, you will find that you console log stuff a lot, but in the future, it actually is pretty useless. It's only good for like um, giving you text so you can know what's going on in your code. Programming is often highly collaborative. In addition, our own code can quickly become difficult to understand when we return to it. That's very true. As we write JavaScript, we can write comments in our code. Yep. Comments also super helpful. These are two type of code comments. So a 2 / and you can put those anywhere, and a multi-line. Yep. So yeah, uh, comments are just ignored. They're useful, so you can write comments about you know what you're doing. Let's practice by adding some comments. To the right, we're provided with the beginning of the Catch-22 book by Just Heller. Write a comment that says opening line. And it won't do anything. Or like that this does not affect the code because it's a comment. Yeah, comments are a way to write in your code, and the processor will ignore it. Single line comments are great for adding context to your code. Multi-line comments are best suited to prevent a block of code from running. However, both types of comments can be used for either purpose. I use a multi-line comment so that 4 through 9 statements, so that lines 4 through 9 are commented out. 4 through 9. So I rarely. That's right. Okay. Run. Okay. Cool. So, and because we took this code and we commented it out, it did not run. Yeah, that's true. You can use comments to temporarily disable code. Yeah, yeah, you can disable code. Very I do that all the time. All right. Yes, this is the fun part. Okay, data types. Data types are the classifications we give to different types of data we use in programming. In JavaScript, there are 7 fundamental data types. Numbers, that's literally just a number. Okay, side note. This might seem obvious, like a number is a number. 4, 8, 1,500, 23.42. But it's worth noting that in JavaScript, we only have one type of number. Like all numbers are numbers. But in many programming languages, there are many data types just for numbers. Integers, floats. A float is like a decimal number. Floats, decimals, negatives, unsigned negatives. 8-bit numbers, 16-bit numbers, 32-bit numbers. Unsigned 32-bit. Anyway, it gives you speed, but it's also just a lot more complicated. There's pros and cons. So JavaScript keeps things really simple, and it's really nice. A string is a group of characters on your keyboard, letters, numbers, anything that's inside single or double quotes. I prefer single quotes. Okay, it's worth noting anything inside of quotes is human language. If it is outside of computer code or outside of quotes, it is computer language. So strings are just text. Strings are text. Booleans is true or false. They're keywords. They're not in quotation marks. It's true or false. Null. This means like empty. It means like it is intentionally like empty, or there's intentionally nothing there. Null. Undefined. This is a keyword. Yeah. Okay. So undefined is tricky. So undefined it's actually a data type, and it's kind of like null, but undefined is usually an error. It's like when you're trying to find something and it's not there, it'll say like, "Hey, that's undefined." Whereas null is more like this is intentionally empty. It may not make sense right now, but you will, as you experience it, it will make it big. You'll understand. Null is empty. Undefined is you thought something was there, but it's not. Object is a collection of related data. So think of like if you have like a person, then you'd say like they have like a name and their name is like Tanner. It's a data type. So you have like the property and the value, like age, 34, so forth. A symbol. Okay, this is new in the language. Symbols are unique identifiers used in more complex coding. Symbols are kind of like a way to say like something is globally unique, like, or at least in your code, like completely unique. And typically, its value and its identifier are the same thing. Did I do? Oh, I missed symbol, and I went straight to object. My bad. Okay, so the first six of these types are considered primitive data types. Yes. So numbers, strings, booleans. So like 3, Tanner, true, null, undefined, and symbol. It's like new symbol. Blah blah blah. Anyway, these are so they're called primitives. I like to call them simple data types because it's just a simple. It's like a number. It's text. It's true or false. These are the 3 really important ones. And objects are they're more complex. Objects and arrays, I call them complex data types. That is not their like technical name, but I like to teach people that way. So you have 3 simple data types: numbers, text, and booleans, and you have a few complex data types. And complex data types is like it's like a data structure. It's like an organization of data, like an organization of numbers, strings, and such. Okay, but before we, so we'll create those. Before we do that, let's get comfortable with strings and numbers. So here's an example. First, we printed a string. Our string isn't just a single word. It includes both capital and lowercase letters, spaces, and punctuation. Next, we printed the number 40. Notice we did not use quotes. That is absolutely correct. 40 and 40 are not the same thing. This is a number. This is text. On line 1, log the string JavaScript. Okay. So I'm going to log it. Console.log. This is text, so I'm going to write, and all right, JavaScript. I'm going to do something. JavaScript. And I think this is going to tell me that I fail. Yep, exactly. Now, like when you're starting to program, you might say, like, why? Like, why didn't this fit? Why didn't this work? Because punctuation matters. Now, in a string, when you're dealing with text in real life, a string won't break. Like a miscapitalization won't break your code when you're just console logging. But CodeCademy is trying to teach you to be detail oriented, and the way that this application works is your code has to pass certain tests, and the string has to be exactly correct. That's why it failed, because this says capital J, capital S, capital J, capital S. Okay, let's run this again, and cool. All right, on line 2, log the number 2011. So console.log 2011, and like I kind of like, here's the thing: if I wrap this in quotes, it's gonna fail because this is text, and they want a number. Run. Okay, cool. And on line 3, print woohoo console.log woohoo, I love to code. And I love to code CodeCademy. I'm just going to copy and paste that. Something that I learned a long time ago was it is, especially in programming, it is okay to copy and paste text. Like, do not be. I'm anti-beginners copying and pasting a lot of code because you learn it when you type it out. But when it comes to strings, copy and paste. Okay, on line 4, print the number 2049. Console.log 2049. Okay, I'm going to leave off the semicolon. Watch what happens. It's fine. You can totally not use a semicolon, but I am also a strong believer that you should use a semicolon. JavaScript will not break. There are a few cases where a semicolon or not semicolon will affect your code. But for the most part, in most cases, you'll be absolutely fine not using them. Nonetheless, I recommend you use them. I say better to use them than not. But it won't. Don't freak out if you miss a semicolon. All right, arithmetic operators. Basic arithmetic operators often come in handy when programming. Yeah. Okay. So we have add, which is a plus, subtract, which is a minus. JavaScript uses a star to multiply. Divide is a /, and remainder is percentage. This is also called the modulo. In many programming languages, you'll find the remainder is called a modulo. So here we go. So console log. So just writes out 3 plus 4, 5 minus 1. 4 times 2 is 8, and 9 divided by 3 gets 3. So note, when we console log, the computer will evaluate the expression. That's actually a great point. Yeah, so it evaluates it. This resolves to a value. So you're saying console log, and this is actually really nice because some programming languages, especially like older programming languages, could not evaluate things on the fly like this. But you can just evaluate like console log 3 plus 4. Like JavaScript will evaluate it and resolve that to a single value on the fly. So the remainder operator, sometimes called modulo, returns the remainder after the right-hand number divides into the left-hand. Okay, so I think this is pretty straightforward if anybody's done like elementary school math. So inside of console log, add 3.5 to your age. So console.log 34 plus 3.5. And run it. Blah, blah, blah. And I pass. Okay. On a new line, I'm gonna copy console.log since I write it so much. On a new line, write another console.log inside these parentheses. Take the current year and subtract 1969. So 2018 minus 1969. Again, you'll see these are all numbers, so there's no no quotation marks. Cool. So it's been 49 years since 1969. Create another console log in these parentheses. Divide 60 by 240 by 240. So 65 divided by 240. And run it. Cool. Create one last console log in these parentheses. Multiply 0.02 0.2708. And oh, I'm outside of the parentheses. Let me correct that. Yeah, this has to be inside of these parentheses to evaluate. 100. Yeah, I'll run this and then I'll make a little side note. So you see how console.log, it's a method. Log is a method, or kind of like a function. But you will often see in JavaScript, like when something is in parentheses, a lot of times you can wrap things in parentheses so that you kind of like can group it together. So you can say like 8 plus 6 or plus 3 plus 6 and so forth, and like you know, you'll find at different times you can group things with parentheses. Cool. Next. String concatenation. All right, sweet. Okay, so operators are not just for numbers. When a plus operator is used on two strings, it appends the right string to the left string. Yes. So console log hi plus ya, hiya, and whoa and ah is whoa, and I love to code. Right. The process of appending one string to another is called concatenation. Yes, good word, concatenation. This is one of those things that, like, when you want to go find an answer, like, how do I do this thing? Like, you will find that there's a programming word, there's like a technical programming jargon for what you're trying to do. And sometimes one of the hardest things to learn is like the keyword, like what is that jargon that you need to be able to find the answer to your problem. And concatenation is one of those things. Notice in the third example, we had to make sure to include a space at the end of the first string. Yeah, so like I love to, and right here they had to add a space, otherwise to and code would be jammed together. Console log front space, backspace, no space, middle. Yeah, so you can see like they add the space to the first word or the second word, but no space here. Just crammed together. Middle, and here like they did this, like they actually did like plus space plus middle plus and a space plus space. Just like math, we can combine or chain our operations to get a final result. Yes, 1, 2, 3. Okay, I think it's pretty straightforward. This is just explaining like how you can put strings together. So hello world, console.log. I am going to have two strings. Hello, oh, capitalized. I want capitalized. Plus world. And let's add a space in there. Be on the first word or the second word. Oh wait. Hello world. I guess they want no space. Okay, so yeah, so no space. hello world altogether. Oops, we forgot about the space this last time. Console log hello world again, but this time make sure to use string concatenation to include a space. Okay, so I'm going to go to the first word, I'm going to enter a space and run it again. Cool. Sweet. Properties. Okay. When you introduce a new piece of data into a JavaScript program, the browser saves it as an instance of the data type. Every string instance has a property called length. Oh, okay, great. Yep, this is wonderful. That stores the number of characters in that string. You can retrieve property information by appending the string with a period and the property name. Yeah, okay, so this is great, yes. The period is an operator, or we call it the dot operator. In the example above, the value saved for the length property is retrieved from the instance of the string hello. The program prints 5 to the console because hello has 5 characters in it. Use the length property to log the number of characters in the following string of code. I'm going to take this string, I'm going to console.log. Okay, I'm going to go a little take this a little bit farther. So this is a string. So you have lots of strings, and the computer will recognize this text as a data type. It's going to say this is a string, and when it gets loaded into the processor, the computer is going to save it as a string. Now that sounds obvious, right? But your computer, the way that the processor and the computer and the memory works is that when it gets saved, it becomes an instance of a string. What does that mean? It means that it adds some information. It adds metadata and also some functionality to it. So dot length is how we access those things. So when this string is going to get loaded into the computer's memory, and it's going to be given attributes and functionality, and this dot is going to give us access to that accompanying data. So this will console log a number, so it's 30 characters. But what's another property? You could let's say here's another one, substring 0 3. So you're this may not make any sense right now. Psych, is this lowercase s? Yeah, so T. So we got the first 3 letters of teaching the world. If we make that 30. So, this is a method. You could call it a property of a string. So dot gives you access to properties. Okay. Rant over. All right. Methods. Okay, so what I just did was a method. Remember that methods are actions we can perform in JavaScript. Man, this is good stuff, guys. I'm making this specifically for Laura, but if anybody else ever watches this, I am enthusiastic. This is meaty stuff. This really is valuable information. This is important stuff that I use every minute of work. Methods. Remember that methods are actions we can perform. JavaScript, you know what a method is? Log is a method. See, console.log, it's an action. Properties are properties, it's data, and methods are actions that we can perform on something. Okay, so remember that we have methods are actions we can perform. JavaScript provides a number of string methods. We call or use these methods by appending an instance with a period, the dot operator, and the name of the method, and then opening and closing parentheses. Yes, so So here, so like method name parentheses. And if you're going to give that method data, you put it inside those parentheses like this. You put the data that you want to use inside of there. Does that syntax look familiar? When we use console.log, we're calling .log, the .log method on the console. Great. Okay. Let's look at these lines above. Yeah, so we have hello.toUppercase. It converts the text to uppercase. And hey starts with H, prints true. So these are methods. A method is called on the string instance hey. Cool. So use toUppercase method to log the string CodeCademy to the console in all capital letters. So yeah, toUppercase is a useful method that will uppercase all of the characters in a string. Ding, ding, ding. Cool, CodeCademy. Oh yeah, trim. In the second console log statement and in app.js, we have a string remove whitespace, which has spaces before and after the words remove whitespace. If we browse the JavaScript string documentation, I think Laura, I think you looked at this. You looked at like all of these methods and stuff. Mozilla MDN is a great JavaScript reference. Very good reference. Yeah, wonderful tool used every day by many people. So I can go over here and call the trim method on that string, and it will remove the white space. It just removes the spaces. Built-in objects. Yes, there are many built-in objects in JavaScript. In addition to the console, there are other objects built into JavaScript. Down the line, you'll build your own objects, but for now, these built-in objects are full of useful functionality. For example, if you want to perform the complex mathematical operations more complex mathematical operations than arithmetic, JavaScript has the built-in math object. Very true. The great thing about object is that they have methods. Yes, so an object has objects have methods attached to them. Let's call the random method from the math object. So there's this built-in object class. Okay, let's call it object so we don't get confused. Object, and it has this. It has all this cool pre-built action, and it prints a random number. Or actually, it gives you. It doesn't print it. Console log is what prints it out. Math.random provides you a random number, and then it will be given to the console log, and it will print it out. So like, actually, let's pause for a second. See, this is a method that gives you a random number, and then that number is given to the log. So it looks kind of something like this. We have like the console.log, and we put the number in here, right? But the computer, the first thing it's going to do is it's going to say, hey, look, I have something else to evaluate. So before the console.log can complete, it has to call the math.random, and then eventually, and then this is going to, this is going to evaluate to like 1 point something, and then once this is resolved, it's going to go backwards. It's going to say, okay, now I've got my random number, and then it will call then it will invoke the second method. Okay. I'm sure, hopefully that's helpful and not confusing. But yeah, you can totally do that. Just like you can do like 2 + 2 inside of there, you can call other methods. Okay, math.random times 50. Math.floor, that like it rounds it down. So yeah, math gives you just a bunch of different mathematical functionalities. So console.log, create a random number and multiply it by 100. Sweet. Did it work? Success. Okay. Now use math.floor to make the output a whole number. Okay. So I have this, and I'm going to wrap it in a math.floor. So are there any examples of this? Oh yeah, okay, perfect. Okay. So just like I talked about a second ago, I'm going to math.floor. I'm going to run it. And so what happens here is math.random. So we read it left to right, but the computer is going to figure out like what needs to happen first. And so first it's going to realize that math.random needs to get its value. So it looks like it was like 6 point something or other, right? And then once it has that value, it will return it and put it in that place. And then this will execute, and it will become like, oh no, wait, I did that wrong. It should have been like it should be like 0 point, right? And then once the decimal is in there, then it will say, okay, let's evaluate this next one, and then this, okay, this should have been decimal. And I was like, okay, we need to. This is math.floor, so let's round that. Let's round it down. Then you get 6. Okay. Hopefully that's not more confusing. Hopefully that's helpful and not more confusing. But it is nice to see like how you can pass methods into methods into methods. Use math.floor to make output a whole number. Oh, we did that. Find a method on the JavaScript math object that returns the smallest integer greater than or equal to a decimal number. Use this method to write the number 43.8. Use this method with the number 43.8 and log the answer to the console. So find a method on the JavaScript math object that returns the smallest integer greater than or equal to a decimal number. Oh, that's interesting. So these are properties, right? But I'm going to go to the methods. Let's see, great. Oh, this rounds up. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I thought so. Yeah. And math.cl just rounds up. 43.8. Oh, I put that it was inside of the 4. There you go. I guess it says equal to because if you just give it an integer, so it's going to say 44. If you do like 43.8, then it'll round up. Oh, I did. Oh, we did that one. I didn't do this one. Use the JavaScript documentation to find a method on the built-in number object that checks if a number is an integer. Yep, that's I'm guessing here. I think this is right. Nope. Wait, okay. Find a method that checks if a number is an integer. Oops. I don't know. This is when I just Google JS check if number is integer. Oh, I did is int and it's is integer. Okay, my bad. 2017. I should pause this, but I'm not. I wonder what they're using. Here is integer. Oh, that's math. I'm using number. Did I read this wrong? I did. Details. Number is integer. There we go. I should have. Oh man, I feel dumb. Okay. I was still looking on math, but it's the number object that I should have been looking on. Number is another one. So you have number and math. I probably just made that more confusing. Cool. I have an achievement. Lesson completed. Introduction to JavaScript. Sweet. So I've learned about console log and comments, and I've learned about numbers and strings and arithmetic operators, and I've learned about the dot operator and how I can get information out of data, like metadata and methods, and how I can call methods on data. And we can access properties using the dot operator. What is up next? Variables. I love variables. I want to make a quick note. Side note before I finish this up. I'm going to give you an example of the dot operator. So I'm going to say var me equals, and I'm going to create an object. Name is Tanner, and like these are properties of this object. And age is 34, and city is Mount Juliet. And I can console.log me, right? And if I just console.log me, I get, let me zoom in on this a little bit. I get the object. But if I wanted to console log me.name, it will go to that object, it will access the property name and give me back the value, Tanner. I could do me.name plus, just add a space here, plus me.age. Like me, Tanner 34, right? So that's what we're talking about. And methods are, let's say like greet is a function, and I'm already console logging, right? So I'm going to return this dot name plus single close and plus this dot age. Don't worry about what this is. It's just going to confuse you at the moment. But oh wait, let's call me dot greet. So you can see now I'm using this method. So like is space years old. So now I'm gonna. So this is an object. You see, like it has properties, and it also has like this action, and it's going to use, and like it's an action, and it's an action that is attached to this object. And it says Tanner is 34 years old. Okay, so that's like when we talk about properties and methods, like this is an object. It's a collection of data and actions. Cool. This is a long video, and I hope it's helpful.